Good evening, family. Welcome to Living the Liberated Life with Dr. KJ. I am so excited to be with you all this evening. I'm even more excited that you have decided to join me this evening. You know how we've been having a great time having conversations because one of the things that we've realized here on Living the Liberated Life is that everyone has a story. Everybody has a story, and we've been able to have some wonderful guests over the last few months that have been sharing with us their stories. They have been sharing with us their life altering experiences. Family, we have had a brother who came and shared he's an amputee. We have had another brother come and share about being a donor recipient. He was a donor recipient of 2 organs. We've had a sister come on and share her experience with PCOS. And then we had another sister share her cancer diagnosis, what it was like to receive it, how it shifted and changed her life. And then we had a brother who came and he shared his story from being homeless to, from no house to more house. That's the way he puts it. From no house to more house. And now he is a college president. And so tonight, I have the honor and privilege of bringing on another person who has experienced a life-altering experience. Haven't we all had some experiences that have altered our lives? The trajectory, the direction, the way in which we thought it was going to go. And God came and said, hey, I got a different plan. I've got something different going on. And I want to shift some things in your life. And so tonight, I'm going to bring this brother on in just a second, but this brother has indeed been, we have some people that are brothers by blood, but then you have brothers by bond, right? And so this is my brother. Our bond is a wonderful bond. We met in college, and then we met again in Semple. I'm not going to give you all that, but this brother, he's going to share with you his point of view, but I got my perspective because this brother is an anointed man of God, but he has also experienced something mind-blowing. You all sit back, get ready for this story. I want to introduce to you my brother, my friend, my prayer partner, my prayer warrior, my brother like none other than Pastor D. I know him as Dion, but he is Pastor D. Come on in,
Here
Pastor
we
D.
go. Here we are. Here we are tonight on Fire Keys. Oh man, what an honor, what a privilege it is to be with you on tonight, just to tell a part of the story, to
That's a part of the
express.
story.
Yeah. I won't probably won't be able to give you all. They say don't try to tell it all. Just give
Mhm.
us the nuts and bolts of it so that we can get just a clear understanding of what happened, where it happened, how it happened. And that's what we're
Yeah.
gonna try to do tonight.
I love that. I love that. Now, Dion, you tell them how did we meet? How do we know each other? Go ahead and share.
Oh,
Go ahead.
once upon a time, back in undergrad, Fisk University, the best university, HBCU on the United States of America, down in Nashville, Tennessee. We met at Fisk University, and we did some communicating and fellowship in there, a little bit. But what happened is that we ended up at Howard School of Divinity together.
Yes, we did.
And that's where it just came together. And we've been together ever since. It's just been a brother sister bond that is long lasting, and it's just forever. So we met way back in undergrad, and then we just
Yeah.
pushed it up to now.
And we have, Dion, we have supported one another through some um,
Yeah,
great ups and some great downs, right?
yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
we have really been able to experience some of the ebbs and flows of life, and we've been able to see God work, and we've even been able to believe God for some things together.
Absolutely.
But it was last year. Some things happened in your life. Last year, uh, Dion was supposed to be a part of my wedding, but he had an experience, a life altering experience. But then, we come through to this year. And you and I started what we call the Hush Harbor, which was a prayer group that we use on WhatsApp,
Yes.
a prayer group of individuals. And we said we're going to start Lent out with a bang. And we
Yeah.
began to pray with people. We began to send encouraging notes in that space. And all of a sudden, Dion, there was a time, because Dion, I would start out with prayer, and then you would come with the message for the day, and I would
Yeah.
follow up with the song of the day, just things like that. We continue to do this type of thing. And one day, you did not show up.
Mm.
I said the prayer, and Dion did not follow up. And because, life is moving. Yes, classmates. Oh, Reverend Stefan is on, from Howard. Yes. And so,
Ain't you?
and so we continued to pray and all those different things. I did the prayer, and Dion would usually follow up within, I would say, within a half an hour. You would follow up, but because life was moving, I was busy. I'm thinking you're busy. You didn't put anything in the chat. And later on, I got a phone call. So Dion, that's my intro. That's my lead
Yeah.
into how this whole thing happened and how I became privy to this experience. But I want you to come in, and I want you to share what was your life altering experience? When did all this take place? What happened?
So if you go back to April the 1st, I posted on my page, pray for the chat. And the chat is a group of people that I, talk to periodically on Facebook. What had happened is one of the members of our group had succumbed, had passed away. And
Mm-hmm,
so we were at a rough time. So I said, pray for the chat. Don't ask no questions, just pray for the chat.
mm-hmm,
Right? That was on the 1st of April. Um, and unbeknownst to me, on the 2nd of April, something happened traumatic. Um, I was downstairs in my home and I was laying on the couch. And my sister had come downstairs preparing for work, getting ready to go, head out for her day. And she saw me on the couch and it was just weird to her. And I'm telling from what she told me, because at
mm-hmm.
this time I'm not even conscious of what's going on. And so she comes down the stairs and she looks and she sees me on the couch and she's trying to figure out what in the world is going on, what's happening. So she comes over and tries to wake me up. And I guess at first I didn't wake up. And so I guess she got a little worried and uh she continued to try to wake me up. And when I got up, I got up and I was just erratic. I ran into the wall, and so
Experienced it, yeah.
she
Mm-hmm.
said, "Oh my goodness, something is going on here. I don't know what's happening, but something is happening." So she said she set me down, and she called 911, and they arrived. When they arrived, of course, they do all your vitals. They take all your vitals and all those certain things so they can just get an understanding or baseline of what's going on. And so when they got here, they took my vitals. Mind you, I'm still kind of out of it. I'm really, because I don't even remember none of this, right?
Sure.
Um, so they took my vitals, and Lord and behold, my blood pressure was at 250 over 150. And some people may not know what that simply means.
Right.
What that means is that you're at crisis.
Yes.
Your pressure is up too high, that there is anything at this point that could happen. You're at a crisis moment. And so I was at a crisis moment. And
Mm.
so they said, we have to get him to a hospital. We have to get him immediately to a hospital
Mm-hmm.
to try to get this pressure down.
Yeah.
And so I go to one hospital. I live in the Maryland area. And so we go to the Fort Washington Hospital.
Yes.
Once I get to the Fort Washington Hospital, Um, and again, I'm getting all this information from my sister, who, thank God for my sister, thank God
Mhm.
for her not going to work, right? Thank
How
God
about
for
that?
her for paying attention, because if she would have gone to work and come back home, we would have been having a memorial service, right?
How about that? How about that?
But thanks be to God, something told her, the spirit stopped her, arrested her, and told her to stop and check on me. So I get to the hospital here in Fort Washington, and they realize that they are not equipped to handle what's going on with me.
Mm,
And so they have to transfer me now. They was going to put me in a helicopter, but that night I'm told there was a storm. So they didn't want to do the helicopter. So they decided to put me in an ambulance and transfer me to Washington Hospital Center in Washington, D.C.
mhm.
Once I get to Washington Hospital Center, I go into because at this point my pressure is high.
Right.
So I go into a coma,
Mm,
and so I am out for the count. It's and I stayed in that coma for about a week or so, um, not really knowing nothing. I don't remember. I wish I could tell y'all the story that I went into the light, or or
right, right,
whatever.
right.
The
Right.
famous stories of people when they go into those kind of states,
Yeah.
what happens to them. But I didn't go into any light. It to me, all I remember, it was dark.
Mm,
I went into darkness. I didn't hear nothing, see nothing. It was just dark.
my
Um,
God.
and so I'm in the coma for maybe about a week or so. And they have tubes everywhere going in my mouth. I mean, just everywhere. Um, Keeping my heart going, keeping my organs going. And of course, I have bleeding on the brain. And so they have a tube actually in my head
Mm,
draining the blood out of my head, because it's full of blood.
my
At
God.
this point, there's hemorrhaging going on inside my head. And maybe about a week or so, I'm gonna say a week, I finally woke up out of that coma, still not really coherent, still not in a state of baseline of understanding what's going on, where I am, still kind of confused. I did not have a sense of, listen, the basic stuff. They were asking me my address. I was giving them the address that I lived in 7, 8, 10 years ago, because
Wow.
that's where my memory was. My mother has transitioned, and I was trying to figure out, where was she? Why didn't she come up to the hospital? I asked my sister, "Where's mom?"
Mm,
My mother's gone. There is no where is mom. But that's the state of mind I was in.
mm,
That's just where I was at that moment, real confused of all things. What year it was, where I am, what's really going on. It was a state of confusion.
mhm.
Pretty rough, pretty rough. A brain bleeding, hemorrhaging stroke.
My God. My God.
A stroke, and I'm trying to figure out, how did I get here? What in the world got me to this point that I'm in this state?
So what did you come up with when you ask yourself what has have the doctors been able to say it was your diet? Have they been able to say it was A, B, C, or D? Or are you going to share that in your story? I don't want to.
So yeah, for sure. So I do suffer with high blood pressure.
Okay.
And so high blood pressure does lead into these kind of things. However, I was also working at a juvenile justice facility here in the Washington area, and my hours were long.
Mm,
I was working at night, through the night from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. But what happens there is called a draft. And the draft is because someone is not available to come on their shift. So I got to cover the shift. And so I worked from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. And now I'm covering the next shift, which is from 6 a.m. to sometime in the evening. I may get off at 3. And so my body was tired. I was worn out. I wasn't getting the proper sleep. So when I finally got off and come
Mm,
home, I would just lay
mm,
down, but yet and still it's daytime. So I'm naturally up. I'm naturally, moving and shaking where I probably
right.
should have been asleep. So my rhythm of my sleep is off.
Mm,
Put all of that into high blood pressure. Rhythm
yeah.
of the sleep is off. The stress of just life in general. Put my pressure up. 250 over 150.
My God.
I'm at a place of destruction, being destroyed, leaving. Goodbye, Irene. I'm out
Right.
of here. And
Right.
so I'm at the hospital. I woke up. I finally woke up, and I'm at this point. I'm not able to hold any bodily fluids at
Mm,
all, and so I'm having accidents
mm,
every night
wow.
from both ways. And you could just imagine what both ways simply mean.
We got it. We
I'm
got it.
having accidents both ways
Yeah.
every night. And this is every night until the day I left the hospital. So I was in the hospital for 2 months. So
Mm,
all of April, all of May, and I was, kind of released in June, the beginning part of June.
mhm,
But I was in the hospital for 2 months.
mm,
I moved and transitioned from the hospital to rehabilitation. So the rehabilitation center is across the street from Washington Hospital Center.
mhm,
And
mhm.
so I had to be transferred over to that. But every night, I still was not able to hold
My
nothing.
God. Wow.
I wasn't really hungry, so I definitely wasn't eating that hot. Oh my good, the hospital food.
No good. No good.
No good, no go.
Mhm, and then I'm sure
No,
they had you on a it wasn't the regular food, it was like a special diet, right? So
it was terrible food. It
okay,
was terrible food. So here
okay.
it is. The blessing is when my sister would come up, she would ask what I want, and almost every day I would say a sub sandwich. Now, I wasn't necessarily supposed to have it, but the nurses said, if that's what he's going to eat, go ahead and get it. So that's what
Oh,
I would have. I would
a
have
Subway sandwich every day with high
almost
blood pressure?
almost every day I had a sub sandwich.
Wow,
A
okay.
sub sandwich almost every day. That's the only thing for some reason I don't know what it was. I just wanted a sub sandwich and some soup or something like that.
Mhm,
Um, and so we went through that. Now there were people that came to the hospital to visit. I don't have any strong memory of it because mind you, my at the state, if I was talking to you at that moment, I can be on course. I don't want to say I was faking, but I knew how, for some reason, to be able to be in the moment. But
you could
once that
focus.
moment, oh, I
Mhm.
could focus in and we could talk and we could da 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 da. Da. But as soon as that moment was over, it was as if I totally forgot. Boom, gone.
Okay, okay, okay.
The memory gone. The memory is
Mhm.
gone.
Particularly your short-term memory, particularly,
Absolutely. Oh yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
Mhm,
Absolutely. I had long
mhm,
term. I knew things that happened years back and all of that.
mhm,
People I knew things, back, but my short term memory was gone. It
mhm.
was gone at that moment. I was in the moment. I was able to talk to you, communicate with you, laugh, all that kind of good stuff. But I had totally forgotten that I may have talked to you. If you would
Mm.
come the next day, almost, because my sister Karima would say, not even the next day, she would come in the morning, or come at a certain time of the day, leave out the room, and I would, and when she come back in the room, hey, Karima, so glad you came up.
Wow. Wow.
As if I did not just see her maybe 15 minutes or 20 minutes before.
Wow.
I The state of mind, I was messed up. It was terrible. And as I told you, at that moment, at that time, I didn't have the control of no bodily nothing. Um, and at the beginning part of it, I couldn't walk.
Okay.
So everything, I was in the bed majority of the time.
So you
Now,
couldn't walk. Were you? Did they say that it impacted or affected a particular side of your brain? What, or particular side of your body? Was it? Is your left hand stronger than your right hand, or did you have to learn to write again? Did you have to learn to walk again? Do you walk now? Those are some of the things that I'm sure I know. I'm asking some of the answers I know, but I'm sure many of my guests, those that are joining us, those that are watching, want to know, how did this major brain bleed impact you, uh, and what is that rare for it to impact you in the way it did?
yeah, so my left side was impacted. So my left side was definitely weaker than anything. It's not as bad now, but my left side was very weak. My legs, I could not walk. At the time, I could not walk at all.
Mm,
They would have to get me out and put me in a wheelchair and take me wherever I need to go. And eventually, as I was going through the therapy, I could, begin to walk. They would have me strapped in, and I was holding on to things to, get my balance. And so it was a process. But here it is, through all of that, I would see other people coming to the therapy sessions that had a lot of other things going on. And I'm thinking, why don't I look like that? Why
mm,
wasn't I affected like that? I did know I had some issues, some problems, yes, but
mm,
my mouth wasn't twisted, my speech was okay.
mm,
I was beginning to walk. I didn't have it all down pat. But I was wondering, what in the world's going on? And everybody, because the whole unit, the whole floor was individuals that had experienced strokes. So we all was
mm,
up there. We all experienced, similar things. And so it was strange at first. I was just trying to figure out.
mhm,
So let's fast forward a little bit. So I get to the point that now, yes, I'm able to walk. I'm able to, I still had the wheelchair. They would still wheel me to my sessions, but I was able to get out the wheelchair and do a little walking and do movement. Now listen, let's go back to come forward. When I said there was some issues and problems that I had to go back and learn the alphabet. I had to go back and learn how to count money. I had to go back and learn my address. I had to go back and learn who was the president. I had to go back and learn what year it was, what day it was. I had to go back and kind of learn these things get me back at a baseline of understanding the right now. I had to go back and learn, and I had to do it every day. The therapist would come in and they would ask me the question, what is today? What is today, Mr. Davis? What is today? What is today? What is today? What is today? And I got tired of it. I would wonder, why you keep asking me what is today? And so when I first answered, I would get it wrong. I would say 2000. 22 or something, whatever I said, it was wrong. And
Sure.
then they would, correct me, but they end up putting a calendar right there in front of me. And they said, whenever you need to look at it, you can look at it and you can, get a basic understanding of, what day it is, what year it is, what time it is. The clock was sitting right in front of me. And so that experience had me at a place of I was very
Yeah.
vulnerable in the sense of not understanding the basic things that in order to do your day-to-day needs. I could not make it, and I thank God for those that surrounded me. My sister, my daughter, my daughter's mother, my aunt, my cousin. I had some individuals that were there. A few church members, my brother Demetrius. I had a few people that were there in support of me healing, in support of me being restored, being revived, to be able to get to the baseline of quote unquote normal. My
Yeah.
brother-in-law, my sister's husband, my nieces. I had individuals that were there that was in support of this process of healing because I was at a bad place. I was at a bad place.
Yeah. Yeah.
Real,
So
real bad place.
Let me ask you. So, what does healing look like for you since coming out of the hospital? Um, what are some of these? I know I will say this something, you may have realized that I kind of smiled when you talked about being in this hospital. You were at the National Rehabilitation Hospital. And while we were at Howard, we had to do our practicum for pastoral care,
Yeah.
and I was my my assignment was the National Rehabilitation Hospital. But now in that
Wow.
hospital, they have several floors that specialize
Absolutely.
with several different things, and my assigned area was brain injury and stroke ward. And it just
Wow.
came to me, while you're talking, I'm just like, it's amazing how sometimes God will bring you full circle to remember
Yes.
certain things.
Yes.
And just thinking that there may have been a student now that would have visited you, that was going through the same thing. So that was very interesting. But I also know that there were individuals that I worked with, um, that when I first went in there, they had a very limited vocabulary or very
Mm-hmm.
limited things that they
Mm-hmm.
were able to do.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and at that hospital, they also have like a mini city where they will walk you through certain things, like the physical therapists and occupational therapists,
Yes.
right? Shout out
Yes.
all the occupational therapists and physical therapists out there, right? Um,
Shout out to y'all. Y'all do
yeah.
y'all thing. Yeah.
So uh, with that, I know that healing is a journey.
Mm.
Like, we look at you today. Nobody looking at you today would be able to say that you had a stroke.
No. No.
Nobody looking at you today, hearing this conversation, would be able to say not just that you had a stroke, but you had a stroke this year
This year,
in
April.
April. So
Yes.
it's 6 months to yesterday made 6 months.
Yeah.
Today is what, October 3rd? So yesterday made 6 months to the day that your sister found you,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And
Wow.
so, what has your journey been like? Have you had to alter some things?
Yeah.
What was most difficult for you coming home?
Ah, most difficult. Let me say healing, because you asked what is that healing thing looks like. It's a process. It has been a journey.
Yes.
Um, that's why I say kudos and yes to OP. I mean, to physical therapy and occupational therapy.
Mhm.
Good. they worked me even when I didn't want to get worked, because they start so early. When I was in rehab, they started so early in the morning. I think we started at 6 a.m. Can you imagine?
No, I
You
can't. Praise
coming in
him.
my room talking about 6 a.m., lift your hand, lift your, come on, lift. I'm
Right.
like, what? So they would start so early, and we're in early, ironically as well, because I'll be done probably around that 2, 3 o'clock in the evening with all of the therapies that I had to go to. But okay, once I get out the hospital, now I have to go to outpatient
Hmm.
physical therapy and occupational therapy,
Did
and
you do
that
speech
was,
therapy?
I did
Did you?
speech therapy.
Okay.
I did.
Hmm.
Now,
Hmm.
when thinking of that, because I never think I never had really a speech issue. As you can hear, I think I'm talking pretty clear.
Kinda, kinda.
Y'all can be okay. Let me know. But I never had a speech issue. However, the speech therapist worked on a lot of cognitive. So she worked on memory things and word problems and counting money and scenarios. So it was more cognitive than speech, if you will.
Mhm. Okay.
Um, so I had to go through that process. I had to go through OT and PT. Now I would be at OT and PT, and they would have me walk backwards and close my eyes. Now, after going through that process, I'll ask my sister, "What are they getting me ready for, the circus? What?"
Right,
Uh,
right.
before all of this, I wasn't walking backwards with my eyes closed.
Right,
Uh,
right.
but it was their way of getting me back to a place of balance,
Yes. Mhm,
getting me back to a place where I'm stable. So you
mhm,
have to do these exercises, walking backwards, bending down, reaching up, leaning over, pulling, working with weights and riding on the bike and the elliptical and walking the beam. And so there was a process.
mhm,
It was a process of going through these different exercises and these different things that could help me get back to the baseline of where I was. Now, in terms of here, ironically, when I woke up, for some reason, that thing of worrying had had dissipated. I could not worry no more for some reason.
mm,
I could not take on, like, things was happening externally and I would hear them, but for some reason I was not able to grasp, and just by my nature, who I am, I can feel you, right? And I will almost take on what you're going through
yeah,
and
empath, yeah.
get into it. I was in tune with it, and I would feel bad. I would tear up, and I'm not even hurt. But when I woke up, it's like I could not even connect with
My Lord.
any issues that was going on externally. I could not.
Yeah.
I would hear stuff, and it would just
Roll right off. Yeah.
it'd just roll right off. My stress level had come down to a
Mm.
place where there was no worry.
What do you
I
attribute that to? What do you attribute that to?
I'm gonna say God. I'm gonna say it was the restoration of life. God, just in like the beginning of the Bible, which said that God put a sleep on Adam.
Mhm,
And when Adam went to sleep, something happened. And when he woke up, he experienced the brand newness of life, because now when he woke up, there's an Eve.
mhm,
God pulled something out of him and created something. And so God allowed me to go to sleep. He pulled something out of me and made something. And when I woke up, I experienced the newness of life.
My Lord.
It was nothing but God. It was nothing but God that did that transformation.
So you're saying to me, Dion, that if someone were to ask you that question, so in all of this, where was God? Where was God? Your response would be, He was right there all the time.
It was right there. He was. I wasn't there, right?
Mm,
Here's the awesome power, omnipresent. He's there in the beginning, in the end, in the middle. He's everywhere. He was there all the time. He would. I wasn't there. I was the state when I was in the coma, the state that I was belligerent. I had left the building, but he was still in the building. He was
mhm,
still in the building healing. He was still
mm,
in the building. He heard the prayers of those that were praying for me directly or indirectly. Directly, that those that were calling my name, and
yeah, yeah,
indirectly for those that were saying, "Go past the hospital."
yeah.
I was a part of the go past the hospital.
Because that's where you were. Yeah,
That's where I
yeah.
was.
Right,
But
right,
I
right,
was in the
right.
hospital. So the go past the hospital prayers, a part of those prayers were for me. Because I couldn't
Hmm.
pray for myself. I couldn't call
Yeah,
out
that's
to
good.
God myself.
Good.
I could not, but God was there,
So
right
I
there
wonder
the
if there
whole
any
time.
people. I wonder if there's anybody that has any questions. Anybody have any questions tonight for Reverend Dion? Anybody have for Pastor D? You have any questions? Any comments? Feel free to go ahead and put them in. We will go ahead and ask Pastor D whatever it is that you would like to know about his story. So Dion, so what is your life like now? What are some of the things your day to day, and how does it differ from prior to this coma, the stroke that put you in
Yeah,
a coma, to
yeah.
now? You already told us that you did not walk into the light. You already told us you
Mm.
didn't see a stairway. You didn't see a stairway going. You didn't see that, right? Okay.
There's a
What
highway to no, I
No,
didn't.
none of that. Okay, you didn't see the highway, so you didn't experience any of that stuff, right?
Yeah,
but
yeah,
but your experience, you said he pulled something out of you. Clearly, your life has been altered. There was a
yeah.
life altering experience, and now how has it been altered? Is it that you're more sensitive to some things? You just shared that you don't worry anymore. I think the one that said, "Ain't no need worrying what tomorrow's gonna bring," because what
It'll be all over in the
in the
morning.
morning. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah.
So
Welcome. Good
tell me,
morning.
how has your life changed? How has it differed?
Yeah. It'll be all over in the morning. I'm in my morning. I'm in my morning not because the sun is shining, not because it's daytime and I can see.
Hmm.
In actuality, it's nighttime where I am. But I'm in my morning. I'm in my
Yeah.
morning of when you have a life or death situation, the littlest things that you didn't really pay attention to becomes humongous. So when I came home, there was one particular day I sat on the porch and I looked over to my left and right and I saw the grass. And I said, when did that grass get that green? I saw the leaves
Oh
and I
my.
was like, wow, when did these leaves get so beautiful? Wow, the wind is blowing. Wow.
Wow.
So when you have a life and death situation that happens, you begin to appreciate the things that you never appreciated before, the things that
Mm,
you took for granted before, the things that were just whatever, whatever before. You begin to look at them in a different manner. You begin to appreciate it for what
mm,
it is. And so you see things, and it's like, that's amazing. It's amazing how The wind is blowing these trees. My sister would laugh at me because I had to laugh at myself too, uh, because I was so amazed at how green the grass was. When was the last
Mm,
time I had sat out here, excuse me, and saw this green grass? When was the last time, excuse me, that I had the opportunity to experience this?
mhm,
With, let me see if I got some water somewhere.
mhm,
I did, but oh, it's over that way.
mhm, mhm.
I think I'm gonna be okay. But when
Okay,
was the
okay.
last time?
Mhm. Okay,
Yeah,
you need
when
a
was the
second?
last?
Okay. Mhm.
No, I'm good. I'm good. Um, when was the
Okay,
last
okay.
time that you've had the opportunity just to be? We're human beings, right? But we operate from a human doer kind of aspect of life. What you doing today? And then you got to make up something, and you gotta go here, you gotta go there. I got to do. And we never take that time
Mhm,
to just be in the moment, be still.
mhm,
Human beings. And so I had today looks like I still had to go through the process of my OT and PT,
mhm,
and go through that process, and graduate from that process. I'm currently on temporary disability, so I'm not working at the facility that I was working at. Um, and so now it's just getting to a place of just total healing, getting to a place of stability,
mhm,
getting to a place. I started out, I was in a wheelchair, then I was on
mhm.
a walker. I put the walker down. Now I'm on a one-legged cane.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
getting ready to put that down too.
Okay,
Um,
okay.
and my progress of being able to walk the cane is just so that, because sometimes I may go to the left or the right, but just to hold me, kind of steady,
Mhm,
I use the cane. However, God has done a work on me,
mm.
a work that is almost unbelievable. Because as I look around, even at those that have experienced the same thing,
Yes.
I can't say that I've come out the same way. We
Say that again.
experienced the
I think
same
you need to say
thing.
yeah, 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 say that again because yeah, yeah, say it again.
We experienced the same thing, but I
But
didn't come out the same way.
that just blessed me. I need you to know that that just blessed me
Yeah,
because so many of us think, oh, I've been there before. Oh, I've done that before. Oh, I've experienced that before. Oh, this is, oh, it's the same thing. It's the same thing. We went through the same thing. Ah, but we ain't come out the same way.
no, no. Everybody has
Woo.
their story, right? Everyone has their destiny, their path, the way that life shows up for them. We all, yes, go through life. If I was to cut myself,
Mm,
I would bleed red blood, and so would you, and the next human being that would do the same. However, the results of it will come out different because we all have our own path.
yes.
We all have we all have an assignment. We all have something that we must do. Other than that, just call us robots. We would just be doing the same thing at the same time, the same way, getting the same results. But
Mhm.
no, my story is not your story. It may be similar, but it's different
Right.
because my
Because you shared with
assignment
me
is
at one
different.
point. yeah, you shared with me one time that this type of stroke you had is the same type of stroke that Sinbad had. Yes?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
And if we see Sinbad, while we are grateful that he is able to talk, he's, able to do all those things, as I shared before, he went through the same thing, but he ain't come out the same way, right? And that's a
Absolutely.
prime example, right? And you were going to talk about our assignment, our destiny, our purpose. Sometimes these life altering experiences are the very things that God uses. I'm not saying all the time, let me just be clear, but there are times that God uses these life altering experiences to pull out of us, to draw out of us
Yeah,
some of the things so that we're able to be used in a way that we've never been before.
yeah,
Your testimony used to be one thing, but now God has given you a new testimony. Right. And what happens when he gives you a new testimony is you begin to minister to a different group of people. You begin to speak to, and I know a lot of people are don't want to say minister, right? Well, we ministers, period, right? But
hmm,
when we shine the light, we are ministering,
yeah,
right? And
hmm,
so let your light so shine, right?
hmm,
Let your light so shine. And so your light is now shining, Dion. It was
yeah,
shining before. It was shining
yeah,
before, because anybody that knows you knows that you have been a gifted and anointed preacher. But
hmm,
now, because of being tried in the fire, now because of what you've been through, now because you have been tested and tried,
mm,
the way you speak is going to be different. The way you minister is going to be
yes,
different. When you see
yes,
someone in a wheelchair, your empathy is different. You now are empathetic instead of sympathetic, right? You are now
mm,
able to see a mother with a cane and not just be like, "All right, mother, come on with that cane." No, you have a different
yeah,
sensitivity, right?
absolutely.
I share this all the time that sometimes, prior to me losing my dad, um, I had a different level of sensitivity for people who have lost a loved one, right?
Mm,
Have lost a
mm,
mother, a father, a sister, or brother, right? Um,
mm,
but the saying is true: who feels it knows it. But again, my experience is different than the next person's experience. Your experience, but your level of sensitivity, your level of love and impact is different when you've
yes,
experienced something. And so now
yes,
that you come out of the fire, you can speak to someone that finds himself going into the fire. So,
yes.
what words of advice? We getting ready to come to a close. If anyone has any questions, comments, anything they want to share about Pastor D's testimony tonight, go ahead and just drop it in the chat. We are open to have further dialogue, and we want you to be encouraged, inspired by this story and all of the stories that we've been sharing. But let me ask you this before we even get into this last portion. Were there any signs for you that something was going on with you prior to you experiencing this?
I'm going to say no. I had again. I do. I am challenged with high blood pressure, so that would be the only prior thing that brought me into this.
Right.
Um, but I could not gauge, or I could not even think about this, because when I woke up and they told me you had a stroke, I'm trying to figure out who.
Right.
I had a stroke. I'm
I was
too
in a
young.
coma. A coma. Right.
Ooh, I'm too young for that. I'm too fine for that. What you
And for
mean?
reference, how old is too young? That's a good point. How old is too young? How old are you, in other words?
Well, I'm pretty young. I'm still young. I'm 48. And so to me
And
that's
this happened at
still
47.
young.
This happened when you were 47.
Say it again.
This happened when you were 47.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because I had a birthday since. So yes,
Yep, 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 yep.
I've gained a year, move forward. Yes. So
Mhm.
Yeah, to me in my head, anywhere in your 40s, that's still too young. You're not experiencing this kind of a stroke.
Yeah,
What? And so I could not put it together of this happening to me. What?
yeah, yeah.
No, no. It just did not make to me, it just didn't make any sense.
Yeah. Someone says, continue to heal well. Telling you to continue to heal
Absolutely.
well, my brother.
Yeah.
Continue to heal well. And so we're coming to a close tonight, unless anyone has any other questions or comments. But we are coming to a close tonight. And um, as I always end my shows, I ask you, my guests, to share your last liberating thought. And before you do that, I just want to share with those of you watching tonight that we want to thank you, thank you, thank you for joining us this evening. Next week, we do have another show. And the show that we're going to do next week is all about fall fashion and faith.
Come
Hey,
on. Come
we're taking
on.
a little shift. We're taking a little detour, a little shift
Yeah,
from our
yeah.
life altering experiences. And we're going to talk about fall fashion and faith. And I have a sister that is super dope, super fly, who is going to join us. She is MK Couture is coming, and she's going to share with us her story of how she got into the fashion game. And she's going to share with us some of the things that are in her line. She has a line of clothing. And then she's also going to tell us some of the things that are new and up and coming, and the 2 or 3 things that you need to add to your wardrobes, particularly the ladies, but she may share a little tidbit for the brothers. And so we want you all to join us next week for another episode. But before we come to a close, Pastor D, thank you for sharing your story. Thank you for opening
Thank
up
you.
the book
Thank
of
you.
Dion for us, that we might be able to read and to hear and to see what God was able to do, not just through you, but for you. And so tonight, I want you to have our final words and just share with us your last liberating thought.
Yeah. So here it is. I know within our circle of believers, they say you should not fear, right?
Mm-hmm.
I believe it takes a certain amount of fear to get to your faith. It
Mm,
takes a certain amount of fear because the word doesn't say do not fear, that God has not given you a spirit of fear.
right.
He doesn't
Correct.
give you that added what comes with the fear to stop you, to hinder you, to but fear is a natural emotion.
Mm-hmm.
You get on a roller coaster, you're gonna have some fear.
Yeah.
You get at the top of you in New York, the top of the Empire State, you're gonna have some fear.
Mm-hmm.
It so fear is natural. A certain amount of fear gets you to that holy boldness of faith. And when you get to that faith, you're at a place where now you're outer this body or this mind frame, but you're in the mindset of where God is.
Mm.
And now you're saying God is able.
Mm.
See, the fear may have had you in a state of, oh my goodness, what am I going to do? How am I going to do? Wait a minute. But then once you get to that place of faith, you
Mm.
get to a place that God is, God will, God has,
Mhm.
God. And I'm thankful to God that I'm at a place of faith. I'm
Mm.
at a place of God is. The
Mm.
songwriter said, God is the joy, the strength of my life.
He removes all pain.
All pain, misery,
misery
and
and
strife.
strife. But this is my part. He promised to keep me,
Yeesh. Ah,
never to leave me, never ever fall short of his words. I've got to fast and
fast
pray,
and pray,
stay
stay
in
in the
the
narrow
narrow
way.
way. Yeah. Keep my life clean every day.
Oh
Why?
my God.
Because I want to go with him when
When
he
he
comes back.
comes back,
I've come too far and I'll never turn back. Why? Because,
God is.
uh-huh, yeah,
Yeah. I didn't mean to start the song up, y'all, but it just came in well with what we were saying,
right,
right?
right.
You get to a place of God is.
Yeah.
And when you get to the place of God is, you get to the place of miracles
Ah, that's good.
because it's not you are. Because
Hmm.
as I told y'all, I had no ability to do nothing
You had no
e-
control over you. How about that? Yeah,
at all.
that's good.
Even if I so desired, I had no control. No control over my bodily fluids, my bodily functions. I had no control of this healing. I had no I can't, even if I wanted to put myself in it, I can't even take none of the credit. God is.
That's
And when
good.
you get to the place of God is, you open up the door for miracles, blessings to come in and to take an effect on your life.
Amen.
God
Amen.
is.
God is. I think that's a great way to end this show tonight. God is. And so, our prayer today is that this has blessed somebody to live a more liberated life. I think with Brother Dion just saying, like, live without fear, live liberated. And so, as I always close my shows, I say thank you for joining us. Live a liberated life. Good night.